Within the years 2013 to 2017, only a single volume of Berserk manga released. This volume, whilst stunning, beautiful and mind-blowing, unfortunately signified something bad to a lot of people within the Berserk community. Is Berserk ever going to reach its end? This volume began by dealing with the introduction to Falconia, one of the new but key locations to the story, Griffith's Kingdom. By the end of these episodes, we hear about a new key location, the homeland of the Bakiraka, where Ricket, Erika, Salat, the Tapasa, and Diver all escape to. We never get to see this land, as the story then goes to Guts and Casca, who are sailing to another new location, Elfhelm. This place is the homeland of Puck, Guts' first companion after the eclipse, and Puck first mentioned this idea of healing Casca at Elfhelm back in volume 22. This was 18 volumes ago, or to put it more understandably, 17 years ago. I was 2 years old when the seeds were planted for what we're only just seeing now in the manga. For many of you, you won't have even been born when this plotline began. How long will it be until we see the Bakiraka land? With Miura's writing schedule, how long will the series go on for? Let's have a look together at the future of Berserk. There is seemingly a large window of the Berserk manga which received more complaints than any other. The early portion of the Fantasia arc and the massive hiatus which followed it. Although this might seem like a massive indicator to a change in Miura's schedule slowing down more, there is actually a big explanation for this. This is what Kentaro Miura has said himself regarding the story development of the series. This interview comes from the end of the Berserk guidebook, published on September 23, 2016. When describing the beginning of the Fantasia arc, Miura says, Guts forms a party, gets his hands on a ship, and then pirates appear. Until that point, there was a lot of character development, but from this point on, the time has come to do some quests. This essentially meant that the Sea God portion of the Fantasia arc, stemming from episode 308 in 2009 to episode 331 in 2012, was essentially a side story to serve simply more variety into the series, rather than continuing focusing solely on Guts and Casca's personal story. Shortly after this adventure, Miura went on to do his longest hiatus ever, but in this time he was actually creating a completely different manga named Gigantomachia. This series ran from the 22nd of November 2013 to the 25th of March 2014. From late 2009 to early 2014, the main storyline of Berserk was put on hold, and so these 5 years appear to attract a lot of blame from those who have come to the opinion that Berserk won't reach its end. This would admittedly be a problem, if Miura ever does it again. But if Miura simply needed a creative break from working on a series for more than 20 years, then that's more than understandable. Another thing to consider is that after 2014, we suddenly started seeing Berserk come back more often. Across the 3 following years, 2015, 16 and 17, we received 15 episodes of manga, and we are now at volume 40, with the story back full swing into the mind of Casca, and how events may unfold with main storylines, like Guts and Casca's child. After 5 years, Miura has suddenly started marching through some pretty big events, even revealing that the time spent on the island of Elfhelm will be slower than off the island. Or to put it simply, by the time they finish on the island, Ricket will be much older, Griffith's Kingdom may be completely different, and the endgame will more than likely begin. Miura's return also began a new phase for Berserk, fully digital artwork. Everyone who has tried transferring from traditional to digital will attest that it takes some getting used to, and a highly detailed series like Berserk turning digital was almost guaranteed not to go unnoticed. Despite this, Miura actually has done a really good job, and it seems as though he has used the time in this break to convert formats as well. As long as there isn't any more creative bumps on Miura's storytelling side, then we could be seeing around 5 chapters every other half a year like we've been doing so far. Unfortunately, things aren't so simple to just leave it there, however. In an interview from the Berserk Illustrations file from 1996, Miura said, "As for the ending, I myself don't have any idea of what it will be. although this was more than 20 years ago, and if we take a look once again at the guidebook interview, Miura states that when it comes to entirely new things, I would like to make preparations before the inevitable deciding battle between Guts and Griffith and make it more exciting. It would appear Miura is indeed working more decisively towards the conclusion than he used to be. But unfortunately, the way in which Miura comes up with his ideas may be the most problematic aspect. In 2009, Miura answered a bunch of questions from fan forum skullknight.net. At this point, volume 34 was the most recent volume. And when asked about how far he was into the series, he responded that he thinks the series is at about 60 to 70% completed. However, he didn't know anything for sure when it comes to the future. Since then, 5 volumes have come out, and as I started the video by saying, we're still barely being introduced to some pretty key locations, and things are only just coming together in terms of the bigger picture. What Miura says, that he doesn't know anything when it comes to the future, is something he would go on to repeat a lot across different interviews throughout the years. In an interview from 2000, Miura said, "I myself am someone not very good at planning, but when you stop and think about the manga you've already made, I think you'll find that there was some sort of reason behind it. And if you dig into that enough, a story comes together. It's not something done intentionally." He then goes on to discuss with the interviewer that the demon child that Casca gave birth to is going to become something of a key point, despite the fact that he didn't plan for it to be Casca's baby when it was first drawn. The interviewer says that means it wasn't supposed to be a fetus at the start then, and I guess there was no plan to have Guts lose his iron arm the way he did either. Miura says none at all, that part was left open. Basically, I had planned that he'd have it done to him somehow by Griffith, and then a love story came into the picture, and taking that to its extreme just happened to fit together nicely with the climax. It's not as though I had it planned from the start, and now it turns out that the demon child is similarly going to snap very usefully into place. Lately, I've come to trust in my own carelessness. In my experience, things often pop nicely into place, even without having been planned ahead much. This writing style, whilst it has worked in Miura's favour over the years, does sound like it is a massive contributor to why the series takes so long to create. It would seem like Miura is the kind of artist who lets the story take a life of its own. This obviously makes for an almost unpredictable future for Berserk. If this series is now believed to be around 3/4 done or 75% done, then we could be seeing an end at around volume 50 to volume 52. 10 volumes from now at the current release rate would take about 20 years, with 5 episodes coming out every other half a year. Obviously, this is if the current release schedule is to keep up, which, as mentioned before, might not be the case. Miura did more than half the series with needing only one 5-year break. If he needed another, then the series might take anywhere from 20 to 25 years to come to a close. It sounds ridiculously long, but manga authors don't get quicker with age either. The story of Berserk seems to be winding down to its conclusion, as characters are accomplishing what they set out to do, with Guts getting Casca back, and Griffith attaining his kingdom. Big chess pieces are being moved towards the endgame, as Rickett makes his stance on Griffith perfectly clear, and finds allies with the Bakuraka. Skull Knight's attempt on Griffith's life fails and even brings his enemies one step closer to him. The Moonlight Child is attached to his parents, in a way that can't not bring the 4 characters face to face once again. The Beast of Darkness previously let Guts know that he would bide his time and wait to take control of Guts at his weakest moment. People assume that Guts will want to take revenge on Griffith, but it might not be him that does it with how things are turning out. So many things hang in the balance until Casca comes back. Miura even said that he delayed Casca's return to focus on other things. Now that he's ready to tell that story, who knows where it will go. What do you think is going to happen next in Berserk? Comment all of your opinions down below and let's discuss this series together. Thanks so much for watching this video. This brings me to the end of my 3 big Berserk talk videos for the release of the manga. The first being existentialism and trauma in Berserk, and the second being the origins of Berserk. If you like the 3, then be sure to like the video and subscribe for more. I've never received such an overwhelmingly positive response before, so I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And thankfully can tell you that I have many more Berserk videos in the works, so be sure to subscribe for those. But coming up next, why anime live action movies suck.